and welcome to the Onside Kick. Ricky Widmer here along with Mark Weber.
How's it going?
And you might be thinking to yourself, Ricky, is this a little bit of deja vu? There is a voice missing here on the Onside Kick. Dave Oster could not make it, so he will be absent for today's show. And no, Mark, he did not get fired.
Not yet. I'm still holding out. And hoping.
But today, Mark, we got a jam-packed show, a lot to talk about. Johnny Danks for the Chicago White Sox made his debut on Friday. We have the Crosstown Cup, the Crosstown Rivalry, whatever you want to call it, Cubs Sox getting ready to face off this week. Luol Deng says he's not going to need surgery. The coach gets his number retired in Chicago, and we can all now say, finally. And then we also have the NBA playoffs. But first, I want to start off with something we usually haven't talked about, and that's baseball. Danks pitches 6 innings, gives up 4 hits, 3 runs, strikes out 5 in the extra inning win over the Miami Marlins. And you're the Sox fan. Tell me what you're thinking. What kind of start was this for Danks, and did you like it overall?
I think it's a good start. You know, it's a good place for him to kind of get back into it. Obviously, the 4.5 ERA, not too thrilled about that, but it's the first one back. You know, this is his first time coming back to the majors, back to his White Sox, and to kind of get his role back. So I like that. 6 innings pitched is fantastic. Any more, and I'm going to start getting nervous that he's going to hurt himself again. But yeah, 4 hits, 3 runs. Not thrilled about that, really, but not bad at the same time. The 5 strikeouts, I'm loving where that's starting out. Great start. Hopefully we can keep that going, get that up. And then no walks. That makes me really happy to see. It shows that he is contained, he's concentrated, he's focused, he knows exactly what he's going out there to do, and there's no rust.
See, and I think looking more into it, I was looking at it's the top of the 7th because the game was at Comiskey, and Danks was pulled after 1 batter in the 7th. He gave a double to lead off the inning. Sox say, you know what, you're done. They bring in Lindstrom, and the only reason he gave up 3 was because Lindstrom it was Ozuna who came around to score for the Marlins. So in my mind, I think he really gave up 2 runs.
I think you can make that argument. Obviously, of course, you know, the 3 are earned runs there on just statistic-wise. But I can see where you're coming from. I mean, he left him there, and, you know, what more can you expect?
I mean, you look at what happened. This is what happened once Lindstrom entered the game. You had a single to left that moved Ozuna to third. Then you had a guy steal second, and then Lindstrom walked the next batter before giving up a sac fly. So it's like Danks, in my mind, only gave up 2. And if you look at that, 6 innings pitched, I agree with you. 6 innings is the perfect amount. If it was 7 innings, I think 7 would have been perfect. Me, though, I'm happy with 6. I would be happy with 6.
And I think this game really kind of did show off a little bit of the White Sox in the sense of we're still kind of a questionable team. We don't know if we're going to be that good or not. So you have Lindstrom come in, and he's not able to just shut it down and help out Danks. And I think that's kind of a thing of this team. We're not really all helping each other out. You know, we had that problem just last season where our hitting was not helping out our pitching at all. So it's a White Sox thing. We're not good. We're not good when it comes to sharing and helping.
No, but the next time Danks will start, it will actually be on the road. And I mean, you can technically say it's on the road. This will kind of segue into our Crosstown Cup talk, but he pitches at Wrigley Wednesday, and he'll go up against Feldman of the Cubs. I'm actually excited because I'm actually going to be at this game.
It'll be cool. It'll be great to have Danks go against the Cubs to kind of, you know, show, hey, I'm one of the best pitchers in Chicago. Go ahead and go out there and prove that. I think there's a lot to say about the Crosstown Cup, not the Crosstown Classic.
I hate it this year. I can't stand it this year.
Yeah, there's a lot to say. First of all, my first main issue is only 1 series.
Yeah, and this is, if you're listening to the podcast, you're getting a good sample here because I'm a Cubs fan. Mark's a Sox fan. We're not saying that I'm not saying that I solely speak for all Cub fans and you speak for all Sox fans.
I do, though.
But I mean, every either Cub fan, Sox fan I've talked to have had the same kind of response, that they hate it being one series. And the reason why I hate it being one series is I felt like with two series, usually it was, if I'm not mistaken, you have one at the end of May, one mid-June. And you had that time in between. You had time to build up for the first series. Oh man, we're gonna kick your ass, stuff like that. Then after, let's say, the Cubs win the first series, there was a little bit of trash talk that went on in between before the second series to see, you know what? We'll see if we tie this thing up or if we're going to have a winner here in the Crosstown Rivalry.
And that kind of just leads to something that always bugs me. You can't be able to tie. I think that's just a huge issue. When you have a rivalry, there cannot be the possibility that there will be a tie. That's just awful. Like in this, you got your 4 games. Why not 5 games? Just add one more game. What loss is that going to do if you take one game from somewhere else to get a winner of the Crosstown Cup guaranteed? Not that anyone really cares about the Crosstown Cup. I mean, really, is anyone excited about that?
I was out to dinner yesterday with Dave, and the one thing I told him was, would I like to see the Cubs just come in and sweep these 4 games? Yes. But if we're talking about winning a cup, just keep it on the south side. I don't need a cup to know that the Cubs are better than the Sox, because that's what I personally believe. I feel, though, also this kind of little rivalry against the Cubs and the Sox loses a little bit of steam with me because we're both terrible this year.
Yeah, really. Neither team is good. It's kind of the fight of which one of us sucks just a little bit less this year. Which, of course, obviously, statistically, it's going to be the Cubs. I mean, we all know that for a fact.
No, this Crosstown series, Cubs are going to take 3 or 4.
I don't know, because, the White Sox are not looking so great this season.
We'll win both at Wrigley and the game on Monday. I'll give you the game where Edwin Jackson pitches.
That's your man right there, Mr. 1-7 right now.
I can't stand Edwin
Very
Jackson.
impressive to have lost 7 games already.
I can't stand. But looking at the pitching matchups, we're going to have Quintana and Samardzija going in Game 1 on Monday. Sales and Jackson go in Game 2 on Tuesday. Both of those will be at Comiskey. Then we have Danks and Feldman. Wrigley, that's a game I'm excited for because I'm actually going to be there. And then on Thursday, to round the series up at Wrigley, we have Peavy against Travis Wood. And me as a Cub fan, like I said, the only game I'm scared about going into this Crosstown Rivalry is that second game. Which Edwin Jackson are we going to see?
And that second game, really, I mean, you're talking about Edwin Jackson, but you're going up against Sale. Sale's a great starting pitcher. I think he's still kind of trying to find that momentum that he had last season, but now against the Cubs is the perfect time to do it. Get out there and show why you are the best pitcher in Chicago, because he is.
Well, I'm looking at Edwin Jackson's game-by-game stats, and the only 2 wins he has is an 8-2 win against Washington, where he went 5 1/3 inning, and then a 4-3 win on the road at Miami, where he pitched 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 runs. And I think the only comforting spot in this matchup is Jackson's 2 wins have been on the road, and that's where he'll be pitching. Technically on the road, but it's still Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, that exists, but in this situation, there really is no home field advantage.
No.
It's all an even playing field. It's just a matter of, did your fans travel, 5 miles or 2? That's basically what it is. And obviously people live different places, but there's no advantage here. I just have some issues with, I don't think nobody cares about the Cup. Because it's...
No one does.
What is this? The second year the Cup has existed?
To be honest, I don't know. I didn't really notice as a Cub fan, I didn't even notice the Cup until this year.
Exactly. That's my thing, where I never noticed there was a Cup until last year. So I was like, oh, is this new? What's going on with this? But And there's the fact that they could end in a tie. That just bugs me.
It could end in a tie beforehand. We played 6 games.
But that's always an issue that I think needed to be fixed.
Why?
Because you can't have a tie. One team has to be better. That's what it is. One team has to win Chicago.
I don't know what you're going. I'm okay with if before, let's say the 2-3 game series, I was fine if it ended 3-3. Personally, though, that's because then I know I couldn't take any from Sox fans.
Yeah, exactly. See, I want it all or nothing. And, maybe it's because I'm not the 100-plus years waiting for the World Series, but I want to have it all and be the champion of Chicago or have nothing.
Well, that's I'm going to go into story time right now. This was, I want to say, 2 years ago. This is why I love the Crosstown Rivalry, because as all you guys know who have listened to the podcast, I'm a Cubs fan, but I live on the south side of Chicago. And I actually have a Cubs shirt that on the front, it says, "Your girl's a Cubs fan." And on the back has the Cubs logo, and it says, "I should know." And I'm at the local White Hen, and it's during the Crosstown Rivalry, and the Cubs were actually doing good that series. And the guy working there had a White Sox hat on, and he looks at my shirt and goes, "Yeah, well, how do you know my girlfriend is a Cubs fan?" And this was the series, actually, that the Cubs swept the Sox. And me being my gloating self, I was proud because I was actually able to boast. I had to actually run out of the White Hen because I said, because she was handling my broom all night long.
I'm pretty sure who was it? I think it's Louis C.K. who had a joke where it's like those bumper stickers, something about like people's girlfriends. Like, you're just gonna have the one dude who pulls you over and is like, "How do you know my girlfriend, huh?"
Yeah. Well, I had that experience, and
it really happens.
I know it probably wasn't the most appropriate thing to say, but as a Cub fan, we don't get to boast much when it comes to Sox fans.
That is one thing with you Cub fans.
Oh, you Cub fans over there.
I give
What's
it to
that
you
supposed
when
to
you.
mean,
I
Mark?
give it to you guys when you have a moment to be happy, because they don't come that often.
No,
they really don't.
Still waiting. 100 years. 100 years.
I have a little bit of sympathy for you guys when just one measly little crumb of good fortune goes your way.
Like when we got Theo.
If you want to be excited about that, sure.
I'm still in Theo we trust.
He's a step up, but we'll see what happens.
Would you rather have Theo or Jim Hendry?
I'd rather have Theo.
But getting back to this year's kind of series, if you want to call it that, if you want to call it two-game series, the one pitcher for the Cubs that I want to see do really good is Jeff Samardzija. Because, at the beginning of the year, I feel like Samardzija, it felt like he set the tone. He comes out April 1st against the Pirates, has 8 innings pitched, only gives up 2 hits, strikes out 13, and then it's like, where did you go? What have you done for me lately? He loses 4 straight. Now he's coming in. He'd basically come into this series with a record of 2-6. He has an ERA of 3.25, but has struck out 72 batters thus far this season.
It's going to be a very interesting matchup. Him against Quintana will be a good one to see. Quintana's got those 2 wins right now after that little skid of 3 losses. But at the same time, he hasn't had his ERA below, 3.4, 3.5 since
right now it's
April.
At 3.48.
Yeah, it's been a long time since it's been, sub 3, 4. So he needs to kind of, get back going. He's doing well. He really is. It's not like he's doing that badly. He's getting, some good strikeouts every game. He's winning right now. He's on his little 2-game win streak here, but I just want to see that ERA go down a little bit. It kind of makes me nervous.
See, I don't know. As an entire team, though, for the Cubs, we desperately need to do well in this series because right now it sits, depending on how the Cubs do here on Sunday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 straight losses. If we lose to Cincinnati today, we will have 8 straight losses going into the Crosstown Rivalry. Our last win was the 8-2 win last weekend against the New York Mets. And to me, I want to say that's horrible, but at the same time, I want to say, that's the Cubs.
I mean, really, that is a little bit of something you got to do. You got to know that when you got these teams where neither team's really performing all that well right now.
No, we're not, which is kind of funny because at the beginning of the year, didn't you and Dave say that the Sox were going to be at the top of the division?
I think I was going at second in the division.
Because right now, you guys are 4 games behind second place Cleveland and 4.5 behind first place Detroit. 4.5 isn't a lot of games, but it's 4.5.
It's not, but I mean, let's be real about Cleveland. Does anybody really believe in Cleveland? Are they going to make it last? I don't think so.
I don't know. I saw an interview that I forgot their coach was Terry Francona for this year. He did an interview with PTI with Wilbon and Kornheiser. I don't know. Something about him as a manager, just having him as a manager gives your team a shot.
It's possible. I mean, everybody does kind of. I feel like this season right here, it's all being put on him, and everybody, like, all the Cleveland Indians' attention is going straight there, but can only last so long.
Well, and plus with Detroit, when you have Cabrera hitting the cover off the ball.
Yeah, Detroit, they kind of, their money has finally kind of settled in.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like for both the Cubs and the Sox, though, the Cubs, for me, right now, 13.5 back of first place, St. Louis. I think it's going to be a battle for who's going to get last place in that division, the Brewers or the Cubs. And I'm going to stick by my preseason prediction. Brewers are going to finish last in the NL Central.
It would be tough to be worse than the Brewers. It really would.
Well, I mean, you don't have the Astros. The Astros right now are 14-34. That's about 4 games worse than us.
Yeah, you're missing out on that.
We don't have that cushion anymore, Mark.
I will say, though, if anybody can be worse than the Brewers, it's the Cubs.
It's sad. But last but not least, kind of to round out the Crosstown Rivalry, I already gave my prediction. I said Cubs are going to take 3 or 4. What about you, Mark? What do you think? Sox fan over there?
I got to go with the Sox. I mean, I think I'm going to go for it.
Don't tell me clean sweep.
I'm going for the sweep.
Wow.
White Sox going to sweep it.
Wow. I don't think that'll happen because, let's put it this way, the Cubs are going to win Wednesday because I'm going to be there.
I don't know. I don't know if you're that much of a good luck charm.
I think the last game I went to was a Father's Day game against the Angels, and we won 12-3.
Just make sure you don't go and catch any foul balls if any are hit your way.
I am going to bring my mitt, though. I am going to bring my mitt. But to kind of move over from the world of baseball, we're going to go to football a little bit. We have 2 big stories here in the city of Chicago. We have one, the Bears finally retiring Mike Ditka's number 89. And Mark, when you first heard that Ditka was going to get his number retired, what was your first thought, your first response?
My first thought was, oh yeah, we haven't done that yet. Like, because that's really what it comes down to. Why haven't we done it yet? What were we waiting for? Were we waiting for Brian Urlacher to retire, another great linebacker? Like, it just doesn't really make sense why it took so long to do.
Well, I mean, he not only played, but he coached you your only Super Bowl win.
And he also kind of coached the team back into the ground later on. But
he won you the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl shuffle, Mark.
We got a Super Bowl, and we had the Super Bowl shuffle, which I own that on vinyl, by the way.
I love the Super Bowl shuffle. Even though I'm a Vikings fan, I love me some Super Bowl shuffle.
And I think, I mean, it just kind of was I don't know what took so long. We should have done this a while ago. But hey, better late than never. Let's get it done.
See, and the jersey, the number, jersey, however you want to look at it, will not be retired until December 9th at halftime during the Monday Night Football game between the Bears and the Cowboys.
In the battle of teams that suck at primetime.
Well, that makes me pose the question, during that game, is that a must-win for Chicago just because you're retiring Ditka's number?
I'm going to say it's a must-win because at the end of the season, I think we're going to be competing for a playoff spot. And it'll probably – it's either going to be a 2-team race or a 3-team race. And I'm obviously talking about the division there of Packers, Vikings, and Bears. It's going to be a tough one. And I think the Cowboys are kind of not that great, especially when it's a primetime game. But, hey, neither are the Bears.
See, but my one thing that just popped into my head is why that game? Why that one game?
Monday Night Football.
Is that the only reason, though?
I think it's got to be Monday Night Football. People love the coach.
Because it kind of thinks back to what we said at the beginning of this little segment was, why did it take so long? Not only why did it take so long, why is it going to take you until the second week of December to do this? If it was me, I mean, I would do it week 1. You're at home. I mean, yes, it's the Bengals. Yes, it's not prime time, but you're at home.
I kind of feel that you couldn't really do it against Cincinnati because no one cares about Cincinnati. There's going to be a lot more going on that
then
first
you know
week.
what? Then you know what? Why not wait then? If you're going to wait until week 14, why not just wait until week 17 to do it when you play the Packers?
The only thing I have about that is I think storyline-wise, there's a good chance that there will be another storyline that overtakes Mike Ditka, and that's which one of these teams is going to win the division.
I don't think any storyline can overtake that coach.
I don't know. I think that's just
coach.
I mean, you put it at the beginning. You got your Jay Cutler has to play well, or he's out of Chicago.
Ditka does NFL countdown, or does he do the Monday night countdown before the Monday night games, or does he do the Sunday countdown?
I know he's involved with the Sunday. I don't really know that he is on Monday,
See,
though.
then why not do it on a Sunday? So ESPN can rile that up. They can talk to the coach about getting his number retired.
You want him to sit at home and watch it with his friends and family, enjoy it. You don't want to go at the beginning because you got all the new storylines of, your new coach, although that would be kind of cool, duh coach and not new coach. But anyways, you don't really want to do it against the Packers at the end because you might be competing for that playoff spot. I
don't care though, because if you're a Chicago Bear player, those are the games you remember, the Bear Packer games.
But they're not necessarily going for the players. They want it to be against, they want it for the fans. And going against America's team, the Cowboys, I think it's a perfect Monday Night Football. It's just, stars aligned. Let's get that number retired.
Plus, I mean, I'm just going to go out and say this because I can't stand Dallas. It's an easy win for the Bears.
It should be.
You get an easy win when you retire Duck Coach's number.
Yeah, it really should be. And that should be propelling us to go out there, knock out the Factory of Sadness, knock out Philadelphia, and then, bam, goodbye Packers.
You know what's one question that I just thought of that is probably going to catch you off guard, but I'm going to ask it anyways? Thinking back to the old SNL clips of the Superfans, the Superfans they'd cook the mascot of the other team before the game. If you're playing the Cowboys, what do you cook for the tailgating? You can't cook Cowboys.
Maybe cook some ribs. Cook that Cowboys ribs.
How many heart attacks for you? That'd be a baker's dozen there, Bob.
I love it. That's what's going to happen. I think on Monday
SNL
night,
has to do another
Saturday,
Superfans.
Not necessarily another Superfans, but remind everybody, play it again.
Or bring back the Superfans. Well, the ones that are
I don't think we can
around.
really. I think we're running out of Superfans.
And then also bleeding over to some recent news. You kind of referenced it. We'll get into it. You already gave your full remarks on it. Check out Mark's reaction video to Brian Urlacher retiring. This is my thoughts, though. I did watch your video, and you as a Bears fan, you were a little bit more emotional than me. I felt like Brian Urlacher should have given the Bears one more go. Kind of a farewell tour, per se.
I really think that if he had come back and been like, hey, I am willing to take that offer.
He should have taken that offer.
I think he should have taken it initially, without a doubt. But I think if he had come back and been like, hey, I'm willing to take it now. They would be like, all right, cool, welcome back. Let's get you to train.
Or do you think Emery would be that kind of, I'm going to say it, that where, no, that's not the offer anymore. The offer's this, and he takes $1 million off.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if the offer came in just a little bit lower. Maybe not a whole $1 million, because he's only going to make $1 million.
Yeah.
But come back and play for free, buddy. But yeah, I think
you're going to have to play for about, $500,000.
You're going to pay us to play. But no, I think that he could have come back to Chicago. And I mean, I would have liked to see it only because I think he would have been really good for Green and Bostic to both watch Brian Urlacher, because they both play similar styles to Brian Urlacher.
Not just watch, but I know that many people were saying oh, well, his body's not up to doing what because he's played 13 years in the league, but just having him on the sidelines to help the rookies.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because he did kind of get that cheerleader role. We joke about him being the best cheerleader on the team.
But it kind of is valid.
It really was. And I think, my big issue, and if you saw my video or if you go back and watch it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. My biggest issue was just that I've kind of felt like a lot of people say that the team slapped Brian Urlacher in the face. I thought this whole thing was a slap in the fans' faces. For him to, basically say that I could keep playing, but you know what? I'm going to stay with Chicago. I'm not going to go anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You would have gone anywhere else if you had gotten an offer.
Well, and I mean, there was so much talk. I mean, I was on pins and needles most days because it was, is Brian Urlacher going to go to the Vikings? And I'd be like, no, please don't do this. I was shaking as I was saying this. But I mean, I feel like, and you said it in your video, and I'm going to say it again, he was forced out of the league.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, nobody wanted him. Although I will say, if he had waited around, there's a good chance week 9, week 10, somebody gives Brian Urlacher a call and say, hey.
And just because he retired doesn't mean a team's not going to do that.
They easily could. And I mean, there were some articles. I know ESPN had at least one or two that was saying, don't expect him to come back. Expect him to be done.
I wouldn't expect it, but I'm not saying that this will happen. I'm just saying this is a speculation I would throw out there. I wouldn't be surprised if week 9, week 10, a team like the Baltimore Ravens, hey, come on, we need you. Come back and play. Because they lose Ray Lewis, they sign McClain, and then McClain, the 23, 24-year-old pro, retires because of getting arrested again.
Yeah, I think Brian Urlacher's, he probably would have gotten something, and he might even still get some calls. But without a doubt, no one wanted him. He says he could have continued playing. With who? Who wanted you? The answer is nobody. So, I mean, that's the big thing with Brian Urlacher. I wish he would have just taken the contract because he could have still played first and second down and been very effective. And, of course, it would have changed things. Maybe we wouldn't have gone for DJ Williams, and I'm happy about DJ Williams. Maybe we wouldn't have taken multiple linebackers in the draft, and I like both linebackers we took.
See, but now I can actually ask this question because there's actually no chance that Urlacher comes back and plays for the Bears. Is his retiring, we talked about him, maybe he could have come back and helped the rookie linebackers learn a thing or two. Does this put that kind of pressure on Briggs to be their teacher?
It does and it doesn't. I say it does because obviously he's the veteran they're all going to look to. But I think Lance Briggs is he's kind of come out and said it a little bit that he's like, I'm not going to fill Brian Urlacher's role. I'm not going to try to. He said, I'm going to do what I do, and you can watch me.
So is there anyone that's going to... Because Urlacher, to me, quote unquote, you could say he was or he wasn't. To me, he was the leader of that Bears defense.
He was, and really it does kind of go over to Lance Briggs. But we kind of lucked out, and I know everybody's still wearing shorts. No one's wearing their pads just yet, but all signs are pointing that John Bostic is going out there, and he's picking it up. He's getting it right away. They said they were impressed by his ability to call plays out there.
That would be great, though, for the Bears to say goodbye to a 13-year vet and have a rookie come in and just pick up right where Brian Urlacher... Because Brian Urlacher, I mean, to me, maybe you as a Bear fan thought differently. since he came into the league, it was like he set the tone and boom, leader. Instant leader right away.
Definitely. And of course, there's other guys out there who are great leaders as well. But Brian Urlacher came out, amazed everybody, and said, hey, this is my team. This is my defense. And this is how we play defense. I think we still have that in Lance Briggs, so I don't think that Bostic needs to go out there and be like, hey, I'm 54 now. He doesn't need to go out there and put on the number and pick it all up. But, he's got that ability to work with Briggs, Briggs is gonna still be Briggs. He's not gonna be Brian Urlacher now. Mm-hmm. He's gonna be him. Peanut's gonna be Peanut. everything's gonna be the same. We just have these new guys who are gonna come in there and be like, all right, how do I fit in? Let me squeeze in there. And I really think that DJ Williams is also a veteran, so he's gonna help out. He's going to be able to teach in a similar way that Brian Urlacher would be able to teach. Because the guy's gone to Pro Bowls. He's been very effective. So he'll be fine. I see no reason that, anybody needs to be worried about, the rookies don't have someone like Brian Urlacher to learn from.
Well, and I'm looking back right now at the defensive starters that were the starters in 2000 when Brian Urlacher was drafted his first season. And your oldest people on that defense who had cornerback Thomas Smith, along with defensive tackles Jim Flanagan and Mike Wells. But the two guys that I remember out of all these starters are the rookies, Brian Urlacher and Mike Brown.
Exactly. They were both guys who came in there and said, we're going to do it. This is our defense. We may be the rookies, but we're going to keep this team going. And, one of them did for 13 years. And really, I think that's kind of what we're hoping to get out of guys like Green, guys like Bostic. We want those guys who are going to come in and say, we are going to let you build off of us the way you did off of Brian Urlacher 13 years ago.
Well, and kind of to move over from football now into a little bit of basketball, the biggest news coming out of shop from the Chicago Bulls is that from a source that was given on Friday, Luol Deng will not have surgery this offseason on his torn ligament in his left wrist. Mark, he originally injured it in a January 21st game in 2012. Didn't have surgery then because he wanted to help the Bulls in the playoffs. Derrick Rose gets injured. We lose to the 76ers in the first round. Then he says, I'm not going to have surgery again because I want to help Team Britain in the London Olympics. Doesn't have it before the season. Season's now over. He was pulled at the end of the postseason because of a bad spinal tap, but now says in the offseason that he's not going to get the torn ligament in his wrist fixed. Bulls want him to get it fixed. What are your thoughts?
I got a big problem with this. I think you have to go out there and get yourself fixed up because what are you going to do? You are permanently going to be injured, essentially. You're going to just allow an injury to exist for the rest of your career, which will be short now because you're not going and doing what you need to do to get yourself as close to 100% as you can get. I've had wrist injuries myself, and I just know that there's days where your wrist hurts like hell. Mm-hmm. It just hurts. And of course, I'm not tearing ligaments in my wrist like Dang was, but still, there are going to be days where his wrist will be swollen. It's not going to be completely flexible in the way it should be. There's going to be big issues with that, and it's going to be a big problem for him.
Seeing what surprises me, his rookie season, he tore the same ligament in his right wrist. So he's torn, during his career, he has torn both ligaments in his wrist, in both of them. And I feel like I've already started the speculation on our YouTube channel, but I feel like what this kind of decision is going to start is the speculations of, should we trade him? Should we not? Because he is entering the final year of his contract, and right now he's getting paid just over $13 million.
And you're going to have to put up big money, I think, for Deng. Not only does he prove that he's going to be a big money guy somewhere, not necessarily in Chicago, but somewhere he's going to be a big money guy.
Remember, we used to call him the best non-all-star.
Exactly. And I think he he was there. He was there when Derrick Rose wasn't there. He was there, helping out when we have injuries with Rip, injuries with Captain Kirk. He's a guy who's been helping us out. No problem. Deng has been there. We've been able to count on Deng. But here's the issue. We're going to have to pay this guy if we want to keep him, or he's going to walk. Do you really want to let this guy walk? This guy that I guarantee some of those lesser teams, they would love to have Luol Deng.
See, and the first thing that it didn't pop to my mind when I initially did the speculation video about should the Bulls trade Luol Deng, but it came to my mind just now looking through the comments on ESPN. Do you think the Bulls at some point call up Minnesota and try to work out a deal involving Luol Deng and Kevin Love?
I would love it. Not, no pun intended, but I would love it. I really would. I think it would be interesting. I think Deng is a great player. However, I think we can trade him off to a team that would love to have him as like a star player, and we can get somebody who's even better if we can, get some kind of package deal going on. On the other hand, though, I think we can get somebody cheap who will do the same job.
See, in my mind, and this was my first gut reaction when I just thought of, okay, if we trade Deng, what's the price? And my gut reaction, I don't know about you, Mark, there has to be a first-round pick. Any first-round pick. Doesn't need to be a lottery pick. Any first-round pick and either a not seasoned vet, a reliable veteran, or either two young players.
I think those are good options. They really are. Just because, here's what the issue is. And a lot of people do not want to see Deng go. A lot of people want him in Chicago. But the issue is, if you give him that big money, even if you give him close to the same amount that he's got right now, you're handcuffing yourself to a guy who is injury prone, first of all. He's showing up that he's going to get hurt a lot. As well as the fact that he's not going to be, continuously getting better. He's just going to be kind of drifting off.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get somebody who's cheaper, a lot cheaper, who can do around the same job that Deng is doing. And then we can go get another guy to play with Derrick Rose who can help us score some points. Because anybody can play defense in Thibodeau's system. But we need guys who are going to go out there and going to get us some points.
See, and I don't know. With me personally, I'm sitting there thinking that, like you've said, Luol Deng is... Would I love to see him on the Bulls? Yes. Would I mind if the Bulls traded him? No. And the reason being Jimmy Butler. Butler, at the beginning of the year, you're telling me, oh, Jimmy Butler's going to be... He could start for Luol Deng if you need him to. I'd be like, you're kidding me. Get out of here. Now, I'm seriously thinking Jimmy Butler's a guy you can build this team around. He's the future, not Luol Deng.
Jimmy Butler was incredibly impressive. And, some people were saying, this is a guy we might need to look out for. But I don't think anybody really realized it was going to happen now. And he really is great. And who knows? He could fall off. He really could. But all things, staying the same, he's going to be impressive. He's going to be a huge asset to this team in the future. And he's going to be a guy we're going to have to pay eventually.
See, and one of the things I finally found out, we talked about a few podcasts ago, but this is another big thing for next year that I think will play into if Luol Deng gets traded, we might have a lottery pick next year. Well, not next. Let me see. We might have, a lottery pick next year because we have a draft pick that's in Charlotte that could become ours. And it started in 2012. It was top 14. So we weren't going to get it because Bobcats weren't making the playoffs. Then this year it was top 12. Next year it's top 10. So if Charlotte's not in the top 10, we get it. Then in 2015, top 8. And then in 2016, it's unprotected.
Hey, maybe we can get 2 lottery picks if we're really shitty. But, I mean, really, that is a nice thing to see. We're going to need it because teams like Miami, yeah, we can play with Miami, but we don't have the same kind of firepower that Miami has.
There's only one thing I hate about this pick. I feel like we're not going to get it until 2016.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. It's a long ways to wait. And right now in Chicago, we're waiting for Derek. We're waiting for our friend over in Madrid. We're waiting for this pick right now. It feels like we're just waiting for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, I don't know. I guess just trust in what we have building up right now. You know, maybe we get rid of Deng. We got Jimmy Butler, who's starting to be pretty good. Derrick Rose is going to be healthy. Maybe we do something with Boozer. I like Joakim. I hope we keep Joakim for as long as we can. But I'm just saying that we got all these things going on right now. We're still kind of trying to figure out the way this team is going to play. You know, we're not completely figured out, which is something strange to say for a team who's been in, you know, conversation for...
We're building contenders.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because we have been that team that everyone's saying, you know, are the Bulls a contender? Every single year, are the Bulls going to do it? But I don't think we figured ourselves out well enough yet. And that's what we're doing right now.
Well, I think we thought we did. It's like, oh, we have Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, but we need that final piece. Because I know so many people talk about the 90s and how the Bulls were Michael Jordan and a bunch of role players. But it all started with, in my mind, I'm thinking the last 3 championships. It all started with Michael, Scotty, and Dennis. Yes, was Dennis technically a role player? Yes. But what was his job? To get rebounds. He led the league in rebounding. Scottie Pippen was supposed to be that guy to take the pressure off of Michael. And to relate it to the Bulls right here, right now, Joakim Noah, go out there, do your thing, score some points, but get some rebounds. We need that guy who's like, okay, I'll take the pressure off of young Derek. I'll take the pressure off.
And really, with that being said, too, we got to remember that Derrick Rose is not Michael Jordan. You know, he's not going to be able to do as much all by himself.
Plus, how many years did it take Michael to win a championship? 8 or 9 before he won his first championship?
We got some time on young Derek. He's a young guy. So, I mean, I think that's a big thing. In Chicago here, we're kind of always asking the question of, why haven't we done it yet? Why haven't we gone out there and won ourselves a final? But we're still figuring things out. We're still putting our pieces together and making that team that's going to be able to go back and back and back for final win, pile up some rings.
One question I want to throw your way that's just spontaneous. Phil Jackson this week, I don't know if he was trying to stir. I know he's trying to sell a book. I don't know if he was trying to do this to get people talking, but he tells Time Magazine that for his all-time team, he would draft Bill Russell over Michael Jordan. Your thoughts?
It's tough. I mean, I got to ask, first of all, what era are we going to play in? We going to play with the rules that we got now? We're going to play with the big boy basketball that we had in the 90s. You know, like, what are we going to do here? If we're playing basketball now...
Well, if it's my decision, I'll pick 90s basketball all day, every day.
Definitely, but I think, like, if we're going to play... You know, if I'm using the rules now, I don't really know that I want Michael Jordan first overall. You know? But, I mean, I just think, really, when it comes...
But would Bill Russell be your first pick? Or
No.
Is there anyone else that you would take over Bill?
If we're going to play with the rules we got right now, I'm picking LeBron James. Because LeBron James is going to get fouled nonstop, and I'm just going to get points nonstop. But, you know, that's just one thing right there. But anyways, I think really when it comes down to that, maybe Phil Jackson really kind of sort of believed it. I don't know, but the man's on a publicity tour. That's all that there is
He's trying to sell a book.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a book out there. I mean, I heard it's good, but
I can't wait to read it. 11 Rings. It's one of those things where just because Phil Jackson wrote it, I will read it. One of those things.
And that's a big thing that's going on. So right now I think Phil Jackson's kind of like getting his name back in the media so everyone can go, oh, Phil Jackson, what's he up to right now? Oh, he wrote a book. Let me go check that out.
Well, and now moving over to the next big thing in the NBA that I know I want to talk about, Mark. I'm assuming you want to talk about it as well. The NBA playoffs in full swing. We'll start off with the Eastern Conference. You got the Indiana Pacers getting a big win, 97-93, over Miami, and they stole one. And the reason why I say they stole one is because they should be up 2-0.
They should. That's exactly, when we're going to talk about playoffs, my thing I wanted to say was that it should be 2-0 right now. It really should.
It should be 2-0 heading back into the cornfields of Indiana.
And let's be real. You let yourself get outcoached by Spoelstra. He's not even a coach. And you let yourself get outcoached by him.
No, you didn't get outcoached by Spoelstra. I'm going to kind of paraphrase a tweet that Bill Simmons sent out after Game 1. He said it 7 times. I'm only going to say it once. Why take Hibbert out?
Yep. And, I mean, that's just bad coaching decision. It is. It's just a terrible decision. You should not be forgiven for that decision, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
You should be up 2-0 right now. Miami should be scrambling. People should be nervous right now.
Even though Miami is tied 1-1, they should still be scared.
They should be, but I think Miami, I feel they're kind of used to going down early, I guess, and kind of not necessarily that far, but I mean, you know, they lose the first game a lot because they win so quickly that they're rusty. You know, the early games are not something that Miami fans should be concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
They got to be concerned with games 3 and onwards.
Well, I mean, 3 and 4 are going to be the most crucial for Miami. Best case scenario for the Heat, they sweep 3 and 4, go back into Miami with a 3-1 lead. Worst case is obviously that happens for the Pacers, but if they split 3 and 4, if I'm a Miami Heat fan, I'm okay with that because then it's like, okay, now it's a best of 3 series with 2 games in Miami.
It's very interesting. This series is a lot of fun to watch. I was just amazed, first of all. I mean, it needs to be said. Those last moments of Game 1 where, the Pacers, they lost it. You know, you see what they did? They let Miami win.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nope. Miami lost it. Miami went out there, stupid foul, and let the Pacers steal it from under them. No. You took Hibbert out, and you lost the game. You lost it because you took Hibbert out.
I feel like I'm glad the Pacers beat the Knicks in the semifinals because I feel like if we were watching Heat Knicks right now, it'd be 2-0 Miami heading to New York.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Like, if it was Miami versus New York right now, we wouldn't be talking about Miami playing New York. We'd be talking about, Spurs and Miami. That's going to be our finals.
Yeah, it's going to be let's move forward. Let's just kind of get past these games.
Mm-hmm.
This round's kind of boring.
But I don't know about you, Mark. I can't wait for Game 3. Game 3 is going to be obviously later today on Sunday. If you're listening on Fansided Radio, we record the podcast on Saturday. But moving over to the West, tonight, Spurs-Grizzlies, Game 3. San Antonio up 2-0. Can the Grizzlies win a game at home? Can they win 2 at home? Do they have a shot? Does this series go back to San Antonio at all?
I think it does. I think the Grizzlies have a good chance of being able to kind of start swinging things back their way. I think they kind of have a little bit of a panic going on right now. They need to kind of calm down and get the Spurs to play their basketball. You know, you don't want the Spurs in control right now. You got to go out there and you got to kind of rough them up a little bit.
See, I'm gonna relate the Grizzlies to the Pacers with only one difference. Just like in Game 1 of the Heat and Pacers, the Grizzlies let the Spurs get away in Game 2. The only difference is Game 1, the Spurs came out and spanked them.
Yeah, the Spurs, that Game 1 was very, very impressive. And I actually was a little bit surprised because the Spurs are playing it how they want to play it. They're the ones who are in complete control of these games right now.
Well, and I mean, in Game 2, you get the Spurs, they jump out to a lead, and then they got comfortable. Grizzlies come back. As soon as they took it to overtime, I'm like, okay, this series is getting tied up 1-1.
Not quite. Not quite. Grizzlies could not get it done. And I think, I'm just going to go, Spurs, we've been here before. Been there, done that. Memphis, when was the last time you were here?
See, I think the Spurs know they're on a mission because I feel like it's kind of the same thing when we had back when it was Kobe versus Boston and the big three in Boston was just getting together. The big three in San Antonio, Ginobili, Parker, Duncan. This is like a farewell tour for them. They know that time is coming to an end where they're not all going to be together.
And they got to get it done now. And I mean, that's a big thing because they had a good chance just last season. Everybody kind of, there's a lot of people who are saying Spurs are the favorite. They didn't get it done. Now is the time where they got to get it done. And they know it's now or never. So they kind of have that driving force that Memphis doesn't have. They're the team that's able to say, hey, we're used to this. This is no big deal for us.
And you know what's funny? Everyone last year was like, oh, the Spurs, last year was their year because it's a shortened season. They're not as tired as they would be. They look better now than they did last year at this time, and this was a longer season.
Well, they got that youth in there. They addressed the main issue that the team had, and that's the reason they're such a better team. And it's funny to say they're such a better team because they were such a good team last year, but they really are just a better team now. And they're going to have no problem, beating Memphis. It's just a matter of, can Memphis stop the Spurs and say, we're not going to let you boss us around anymore? Kind of as they came back in Game 2, but they weren't able to close it out. They need to say to the Spurs, we're going to play our basketball now. You're on our court. We don't even care. If we're the away team, this is going to be our court. This is our basketball. You're going to play with us. We're not playing with you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. With me personally, I feel like this is going to end in 4. This series is going to end in Memphis. And the Spurs, I feel like 2 things. The Spurs need to sweep this series because I feel like the Spurs, because they're an older team, it'd be nice to have rest because I think Miami, Indiana is going into 7.
Yeah, Miami and Indiana definitely is one that's going to go out there. But I wonder at the same time, do you want that rest? Because do you want Miami to be able to come out strong against you? Do you want them to have momentum and be able to take an early lead?
2 things. 1, I do want the rest, but at 2, I just want to finish off the Grizz right now because the Grizzlies are a team, they need to win Game 3. If they don't win Game 3, I'm chalking the series over. I don't think they'd be able to come back from a 3-0 deficit. Would they win Game 4? Maybe. Would they win Game 5? Probably not. But the Grizzlies showed in Game 2 how they fight back. They showed against the Thunder how they are not a team to get pushed around. And if you're up 2-0, you put your foot on the throat and you just keep it there. You hold the head under the water until the bubbles are all gone.
I just really am kind of convinced that Memphis, if they start turning things around and they don't let themselves get pushed around, just as they showed in that Game 2, they can go and win a couple games. They can win Game 3 and they can win Game 4, maybe Game 5. I don't think they win more than 2. I think they're going to win Game 3, and I think they'll either win 4 or they'll win 5, and then the Spurs will just close it out. But I do think they have a chance to win a couple games. I really do.
What, the Grizzlies?
Yeah. Because I don't think they're going to let themselves get pushed around so much. I mean, like you said, against the Clippers, they were down by 2, and then they just, bam, it was done. They said, no, we are playing Grizzlies basketball. If the
Grizzlies want a chance to stay alive in the series, they need to win tonight in Game 3.
They definitely do. No questions asked.
The series rests on Game 3. That's what I think.
Yeah, this is the one they need. Because, I mean, yeah, they can go ahead and win Game 4, but all Spurs need to do is win one more game, you know? So I think it's tough. It's tough for Memphis to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they can do it, but I think they can put up a fight.
Well, last but not least, the last thing we'll close this week's podcast on is a little NHL playoffs, but it's not the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks right now just started their game against the Red Wings. It's still 0-0 at this point, halfway through the first. But the Eastern Conference side of things is all said and done. Tonight, we had the Brewers finish off the Rangers in Boston, 4-1 series win. And last night, we had the Penguins finish off Ottawa in a 6-2 beatdown in Pittsburgh. So now in the Eastern Conference, we're all set for Pittsburgh-Boston. And I want to pose the question, what is it going to come down to? Pittsburgh being the best team in the East or Boston strong?
It's an interesting one. It's going to be a fun matchup.
And you know what I mean when I say Boston strong, right? The whole motto that they had after the marathon bombings, how that city's been alive ever since that tragedy happened.
Yeah, it's good momentum to have, good storyline, and that's one thing that sports are. You know, you need that driving force. Sometimes it's within your team, sometimes it's outside for the whole city. We've seen it plenty of times. Is it enough, though? Is it enough to beat the Penguins? I don't know. I really don't. I think this one's a big toss-up. I really do. I think this is a series that goes to 6 or 7, and it's going to be a lot of hard-hitting hockey. It's going to be who stays healthy, who gets angry, and who scores that last goal.
See, I think it's a different kind of storyline because when we talked about the Western Conference, we've been talking about goaltenders getting hot with the Hawks and the Wings. Jimmy Howard for the Detroit Red Wings is he's catching fire at the right time. And with Boston, Tuukka Rask, haven't really heard much of his name. Has he been playing good, obviously, because Boston's going to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I haven't heard much of Tuukka Rask or Marc-Andre Fleury for Pittsburgh. It's been one of those things where in the Eastern Conference we've heard more about teams than just one person. I don't know. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think these are good teams. Both of them are good teams. But I'm just excited to see some big hits. You know you're going to see them with Boston. You always know you're going to see big hits.
Well, when
Boston.
you've got, I have to look up exactly how tall he is, but when you have Zdeno Chara coming at you, I wouldn't want to get hit by Chara. That's for sure.
No, they're the hard-hitting team. They're a team that you know there's going to be some good fights.
Yeah, Chara stands tall, even though he's 36, 6'9", 255 pounds from Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, that's a brick wall coming at you. I don't know. This one is. I'm really excited to see it because I do think it's going to be just a toss-up game. You know, flip the coin, who's going to win? I see it going to 6 or 7. Like I said, it's going to be close. It's going to be fun to watch, and expect a lot of animosity from these two teams.
Which goaltender is going to have to play better? Andre Fleury for Pittsburgh or Rask for Boston?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to say I think I'm going to have to go with Rask.
I was thinking that too. You want to know why? You got to play against Sid the Kid Crosby.
Yeah, and everybody, obviously, I mean, when you're on the East, Crosby is hockey.
Well, Crosby and Ovechkin are like the Eastern Conference.
Exactly. I mean, so it's going to be tough it's always tough when you're going against Crosby. He's going to score goals. You're not going to stop him from scoring goals. That's just how it is. You just got to limit it, really, or, hit him and get him on his ass, basically. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't necessarily think that this game is going to be all about the offense, though. I think it's going to be some defensive matchups, and not necessarily with the goalkeepers, but just
who's on the ice when.
Yeah, who's on the ice, and also a little bit of just, we're going to hit you. All right, we're going to hit you harder. Well, we're going to hit you harder than that. And it's just going to be back and forth.
I don't know about you. I'm just going to throw my prediction out there. I'm going to say Boston in 6. They're going to win it at home in Boston.
I'll go for the Penguins in 7. because it's going to be a down to the last fight, down to the last goal.
And you know me, I love my speculations. Could you imagine if the Stanley Cup ended up being Boston versus LA? The last two teams to win Stanley Cups face off this year. LA won it last year, Boston the year before.
And everybody wants to see Boston in the finals. Everybody always wants to see Boston in the finals because they're such a good hockey town. They really are, and a great team. But I kind of feel like it's a given. You know, you see Boston, you're like, that's no surprise. Boston's going to go to the finals. I like seeing the Penguins going in. I really do. They're a good team. Obviously, they're number one seed, and they've been just kind of mopping the floor with all their opponents here. I think it's going to slow down a little bit for them now, but I would love to see. I'm trying to think who I would love to see. I mean, I would like to see LA go back and have a chance to repeat. I really would.
If the Hawks don't move on, I'd love to see Boston, LA. But if the Hawks move on, I kind of would want to see Boston, Chicago.
Well,
the only
yeah.
reason because Chicago won it in 10, Boston won it in 11, Kings won it in 12. There you have the last three Stanley Cup winners all in one playoffs.
Exactly. And I mean, obviously, if Chicago, stays alive, we're going to keep cheering for Chicago, and I obviously want Chicago to win the whole thing. But assuming Chicago gets knocked out, which is,
Backs,
it's a good
backs are
possibility.
against the wall.
Yeah. And obviously, of course, we're recording this before the game, so we'll have a reaction to the game.
Come back to the, if you're listening to this, come back to the YouTube channel. We'll have a reaction video up on the YouTube once the game's over. Hawks actually up 1-0 right now.
As they need to be. That's a big thing. We posed the question on our Facebook. We had people saying it on our YouTube videos. We might even mention it on our Twitter. Brand new, by the way.
Talk about the Twitter a little bit.
Well, we put up a Twitter. It's actually at Onside Kick Real because, no questions asked. We are the real Onside Kick. But, yeah, we're going to be posting stuff up there, obviously instant reactions to everything that's going on, not only in Chicago, but otherwise in the whole world of sports. But, yeah, we'll be posting stuff. We'll be interacting with you guys. So definitely tweet at us at Onside Kick Real and follow us. We'll have some good conversations back and forth. But what I was going for earlier was just saying that everybody kind of has been saying that it's the Blackhawks, it's what they do. They're at the end, their backs are at the wall, and they'll go and steal it.
Yeah, right now, Brian Bickle scored the first goal for the Hawks, but can the Hawks come back from 3-1? I'm going to say yes, even though this is going to hit Fanside Radio after the game. I think the Hawks can come back and win the series. Our offense just needs to click.
That's the big thing. I mean, it's tough because obviously there's been some trouble with Crawford. He's been in some trouble in games.
Not even him. It's just like
he's
playing great.
He's had his rough spots though. He has had his rough spots.
Yeah, but not in Game 4.
Yeah, Game 4
was all
he
Crawford.
took it down. We need a big team effort. That's what it comes down to. We need that team effort if we're gonna stay alive and if we're gonna come back and win.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But that's going to do it for the Onside Kick. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at Onside Kick Real. It's at Onside Kick Real. Also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/The Onside Kick. Make sure to check out our videos on YouTube. Going to be putting them up every day. And as always, have a good day, everybody.